Vine's eyes narrowed as she stared at her senior, Jungkook, across the table. She knew she lost. There was no other way for her to protect her king. In all ways, he's going to get her. Vine was trying to think of moves she could make in the chess game between both of them, while Jungkook watched her with amusement, knowing that she lost. Stop thinking. You know you lost. Jungkook's voice made her come out of her racing thoughts. Fine. Shut up. You know that too. That you cheated. Vine accused, her voice rising against him. She didn't want to lose this at all. She wasn't ready to make her last move. Jungkook scoffed, looking at her. No way. You need to admit that you just got outplayed. Vine's face flushed with anger. Fine, but I demand a rematch. Jungkook laughed. Why are you trying so hard when you know you're going to lose anyway? Fine. Lose? Who knows? Let's do a rematch if you're that confident. I'd rather throw my money, but give it to you. Jungkook was playing chess in the school garden with his friend, and before she knew it, he wasn't just playing with his friend. He challenged everyone there to beat him in a chess game, and he will give them money. But if the other person loses, they will have to pay Jungkook as well. Vine watched a few games which didn't even take too long. He beat his opponents in a matter of few minutes, which is quite concerning for a high school kid. Vine was good at chess as well, but didn't say anything for too long. Until she wanted to break his winning streak and take all of the money that he won from others. When no one was left to challenge him and Jungkook was about to get up, Vine took a step forward while raising her hand. Play it with me, she declared, making Jungkook stop at his place and stare at her. They looked at each other for some seconds, as they already knew each other. They are even friends who just fight all the time. Anyone could tell that they're not friends with each other by hearing their talks. But when they need anything or are in the dark, they will always help each other. Jungkook, fine. I didn't know you could play chess as well. Jungkook asked with amusement. Fine. Well, there are a lot of things that you don't know about me. Let's set the game. She came to him and whispered, I will put an end to your winning streak. While staring at his eyes, she challenged him for what he smirked. She really shouldn't have done that. Aftermath of Vine losing. Fine. You shouldn't be afraid of the rematch if you know you're going to win. Or, she leaned forward in her chair, staring at his eyes again. Or you admit that you cheated. Jungkook scoffed. Look at this confidence. Aren't you the one who lost? Jungkook leaned back in his chair, a sly grin spreading across his face. Sure thing, but if you lose again, you have to take a shower with me. Vine's eyes widened in shock, but she didn't back down. Deal, she said instantly without even thinking about it. All she could think at that moment was to beat him. The game was intense, with both of them going all in on the final hand. The game was long, which showed nothing about who was going to win. They kept counterattacking each other, and Jungkook was impressed. Vine was playing with so much focus, and at one point, it was sure that Vine would win. But turns out, it was all his play to trap her king. Vine's face fell as she realized she had lost. Jungkook stayed at his place, stared at it with a grin. You didn't have to make the bed if you knew you couldn't beat me. She raised her face, looked at him in the eyes with so much anger, as if she was going to eat him. But Vine took a deep breath, smiled, and put the money out of her handbag. She got up to go her own way silently, but he immediately held her wrist and pulled her towards himself. Aren't you forgetting something? The rules are changed. He traced his hand across her cheeks. It wasn't about the money anymore. What do you? Vine sighed when she remembered that he changed the bet before the rematch. She closed her eyes tightly. What? Why did I? Look, I was so out of it to even hear what you said. I was just determined to. Jungkook cut her off when he said, not my fault that you didn't hear. I said in clear words, and you agreed to. He whispered in her ear. Now get ready to be alone with me. She couldn't believe she had agreed to such a ridiculous bet, and especially she lost to him. Him, whom she wouldn't lose a chance to fight with and win. But in the end, it's Jungkook who won, and the reality is just in front of her. Jungkook chuckled as he gathered his things. Well, freshman, it looks like you're going to have to pay up. Vine's heart raced as she followed Jungkook to the school's locker room. She couldn't believe she was doing this. As they entered the shower room, Jungkook turned to her with a gentle smile. Don't be so nervous. I promise I'll make it quick and as smooth as I can. Vine, we're just going to shower and nothing else. So put your fantasies back into your head again, she demanded and went inside the shower with a cold look. But as they began to shower, Vine realized that Jungkook wasn't just keeping his word. He was actually being kind and considerate. He didn't come close to her and did anything that would hurt her, knowing that he could do that. He made sure the water was just right and even offered her some of his shampoo. As they rinsed off, Jungkook turned to her with a serious expression. Vine, can I ask you something? Vine, what is it? Jungkook, why did you agree to that bet if you didn't want to lose? Vine looked down, feeling a little embarrassed. I just didn't want to back down from a challenge, especially if it was from you. Jungkook nodded, his eyes softening. Jungkook, I like that about you, Vine. You're fearless and determined, and I have to admit, I'm really glad I got to know you better today. Vine's heart skipped a beat as she looked up at Jungkook. Vine, why are you talking like that today? Are you sick or something? You have such a good opportunity to mock me. It's concerning that you are. She looked at him with amusement, but he didn't say anything in return. He actually was serious, which was hard for her to believe. In the silence, she saw something in his eyes that she hadn't expected. Genuine affection. She was swayed by it for some seconds at his affection, and silence made her forget about the game and focus on him. She didn't speak the whole time in the shower after that. Maybe he was embarrassed of what he said to her. She scoffed when she thought of the possibility of him being embarrassed. He cannot do that even while trying. As they got dressed and left the locker room, Jungkook turned to her with a smile. You know, Vine, I think I'd like to spend more time with you. Would you like to grab some coffee with me after school? Vine's heart soared. She didn't believe it for some seconds, until she did a reality check by pinching her hand. She stared at him for a few seconds. She couldn't believe that this day, which had started out so embarrassingly, she turned had turned into something special. I'd love to, she said, smiling up at Jungkook. As they walked out of the school together, while Jungkook held her hand in the middle of their way. She was shocked, but at the same time blushed, allowing him to do that. Jungkook smiled in return, and they made their way to the coffee shop. Wine knew that this was just the beginning of a beautiful love story with him. Him? She still didn't believe it.